She covered her aunt's shift as a cleaner at a hotel and was mistaken for a guest by a millionaire. Imagine this, a young woman, buried under the weight of her dreams and responsibilities, steps into a world she's never belonged to, not for luxury, but out of sheer necessity. Emma, a medical student with aspirations as big as the textbooks she studies late into the night, finds herself in an unfamiliar uniform one rainy evening. Her Aunt Lily, who works tirelessly as a cleaner at the Grand Avalon, a hotel so opulent it feels like stepping into another universe, is injured and unable to work. For Emma, there's no question about what needs to be done. She trades her pen for cleaning supplies, determined to help her family, even if it means walking into a role she'd never imagined for herself. But fate has other plans, and within hours, Emma becomes entangled in a case of mistaken identity that changes everything. The rain pounds relentlessly against the roof of their tiny apartment as Emma sits hunched over her books, trying to focus on her scholarship material. The clock ticks louder than usual, each second echoing the urgency of her situation. Medical school is not just a dream. It's her lifeline, her chance to break free from the struggles her family has faced for years. When her phone rings, breaking the silence, it brings news that shifts her entire night, and perhaps her life, onto a new trajectory. Aunt Lily, her voice trembling through the line, explains her injury and pleads for Emma's help. "Just clean a few rooms, just tonight," she says, desperation lacing every word. Emma hesitates, knowing how crucial these study hours are. But deep down, she knows she can't say no. This decision sets off a chain of events neither of them could have predicted. As Emma pushes open the doors of the Grand Avalon, the stark contrast between her reality and the glittering world inside hits her like a wave. The air smells faintly of citrus and polish, and the marble floors gleam under soft chandeliers. It's a place where power meets privilege, where guests expect perfection, and staff move like shadows. Unseen, yet essential, dressed in her aunt's oversized uniform, Emma blends in only superficially. Inside, she feels like an imposter, acutely aware of the gap between her world and theirs. Yet she moves forward, driven by purpose. Her task seems simple enough. Clean the executive floor, including the presidential suite. What she doesn't know is that this assignment will bring her face to face with someone whose assumptions will shatter her carefully maintained composure. Enter Alexander Hart, a name synonymous with wealth and influence. He strides through life with precision, accustomed to controlling every detail. To him, people often fall into predictable categories, assets or liabilities. So when he returns unexpectedly to his suite and sees Emma, he makes a snap judgment based on appearances alone. In his mind, she must be part of some extravagant service package arranged by the hotel. His words cut deeper than any insult Emma has ever faced. Humiliated and heartbroken, she flees the room, leaving behind not just the cleaning cart, but also fragments of her dignity. Little does she realize that this confrontation will leave scars far beyond her own emotions. It will force Alexander to confront his own biases and assumptions about humanity. What unfolds next is a story about redemption, resilience, and the transformative power of humility. For Emma, the encounter leaves her questioning whether kindness and hard work truly matter in a world that judges you before hearing your story. Meanwhile, Alexander grapples with guilt, realizing too late that his quick judgment may have cost him more than he anticipated. As he digs deeper into who Emma really is, he uncovers layers of strength and integrity that challenge everything he thought he knew about success and worthiness. their paths cross again, this time under very different circumstances, leading to conversations that blur the lines between apology and admiration. But here's the thing. Stories like this aren't just about misunderstandings or second chances. They're about the quiet moments that define us, the choices we make when no one is watching, the sacrifices we endure for those we love, and the unexpected connections that remind us of our shared humanity. Emma's journey isn't just hers. It reflects the struggles and triumphs of countless individuals striving to create better futures despite overwhelming odds. And Alexander's transformation serves as a reminder that even the most guarded hearts can be opened by authenticity and grace. Now let's pause here for a moment. You might be wondering, did Emma forgive him? Did Alexander find a way to make amends? How does a single night in a luxury hotel suite ripple outward, shaping lives in ways neither character could foresee? These questions linger unanswered for now, because sometimes the most powerful stories unfold slowly, revealing their truths piece by piece. So stay tuned, because what happens next will take us deeper into the complexities of class divides, the courage it takes to rise above humiliation, and the kind of love that grows, not from grand gestures, but from genuine understanding. We'll explore how two people from vastly different worlds found common ground, proving that worth isn't measured by wealth or status, but by the content of your character. If you've ever wondered whether one act of kindness can truly change the course of a life, or several, then this story will speak directly to your soul. Don't go anywhere. The best part is yet to come. As Emma stepped out of the Grand Avalon that night, the weight of humiliation pressed heavily on her shoulders. The rain had slowed to a drizzle, but it did little to wash away the sting of Alexander's words. She replayed the scene in her mind, the way he'd looked at her, as if she were nothing more than an object sent for his convenience. It wasn't just the accusation itself that hurt. It was the coldness behind it, the ease with which he dismissed her humanity. For someone who prided herself on kindness and hard work, being reduced to something so degrading felt unbearable. Yet, amidst the tears streaming down her face, there was also anger, a quiet fire burning deep within her chest. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. All she had wanted was to help her aunt, to ensure their fragile stability didn't crumble further. Back home, the apartment seemed smaller than ever. Aunt Lily greeted Emma with worried eyes, immediately noticing the redness around them. "What happened?" she asked, limping over despite her injury. Emma shook her head, unwilling to burden her aunt with what had transpired. Instead, she forced a smile and said, "Nothing serious, just tired." But Lily wasn't convinced. Over steaming cups of chamomile tea, Emma finally broke down, recounting every detail: the mistaken identity, Alexander's cruel assumptions, and the sheer humiliation of fleeing the suite like a thief, caught in the act. Lily listened silently, her hands trembling slightly as she held her mug. When Emma finished, Lily sighed deeply. "Oh, my dear girl," she whispered, pulling Emma into a tight hug. "You didn't deserve any of that." Meanwhile, back at the Grand Avalon, Alexander couldn't shake off the image of Emma's tear-filled eyes. He sat alone in the presidential suite, staring at the cleaning cart she had abandoned in her haste to leave. Her ID badge lay on the floor where it had fallen, its plastic surface reflecting the dim light from the chandelier. Picking it up, he examined it closely. The name read, Lily Mendez, not Emma. Confusion clouded his thoughts. Who was this girl? Why had she been cleaning rooms meant for professional staff? And why did her reaction feel so raw, so genuine? Alexander prided himself on reading people accurately. He'd built his empire on spotting deception. But tonight, everything about Emma defied logic. She hadn't flirted, manipulated, or played coy. There was no trace of artifice in her demeanor. Instead, she had looked utterly devastated when he accused her. Determined to uncover the truth, Alexander requested security footage from the hotel management. Watching the grainy video clips confirmed what his instincts already suspected. Emma had been working diligently, moving through the halls with purpose and precision. She wasn't performing some elaborate ruse. She was simply doing her job, or rather, her aunt's job. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. He had misjudged her completely, reducing her to a stereotype, without even giving her a chance to explain. Worse still, he realized now that she must have been covering for someone else. Likely out of necessity, his guilt gnawed at him relentlessly. For years, he had prided himself on his ability to remain detached, to see people as assets or liabilities. But Emma didn't fit into either category. She was real, vulnerable, and undeniably good. Over the next few days, Alexander found himself obsessing over Emma. He tracked down her aunt's contact information and paid a visit to their modest apartment. Standing outside the faded green door, he felt oddly out of place, his tailored coat brushing against the peeling paint of the hallway walls. When Lily answered, leaning heavily on her cane, Alexander introduced himself with uncharacteristic humility. Their conversation revealed pieces of Emma's life that only deepened his admiration for her. Her relentless pursuit of a medical scholarship, her late-night shifts at part-time jobs, her unwavering dedication to helping others. As Lily spoke, Alexander began to understand the enormity of his mistake. Emma wasn't just a victim of his careless assumption. She was a force of resilience and grace. The turning point came weeks later, when Alexander decided to track Emma down at her university campus. Spotting her in the clinic's reception area, sorting medication samples with focused determination, he hesitated before approaching. Emma froze when she saw him, her expression a mix of shock and apprehension. "I came to apologize," he said softly, his voice stripped of its usual authority. At first, Emma bristled, unsure whether to trust him. But as Alexander recounted what he had learned from the security footage and admitted the depth of his error, her defenses slowly began to lower. Tears welled up in her eyes again, but this time, they weren't born solely of pain. There was a flicker of recognition, perhaps even understanding, in her gaze. For the first time since that fateful night, she allowed herself to believe that Alexander genuinely regretted what he had done. Their meeting marked the beginning of an unlikely friendship. Over coffee at a quiet cafe near campus, they talked openly about their lives, their struggles, dreams, and fears. Emma shared stories of growing up in a household shaped by loss and sacrifice, while Alexander opened up about the loneliness that often accompanied his success. They discovered common ground in their desire to make a difference, albeit in vastly different ways. Inspired by Emma's compassion and integrity, Alexander proposed funding a new scholarship program aimed at supporting students like her, those who demonstrated resilience and character in the face of adversity. Though hesitant at first, Emma eventually accepted the opportunity, seeing it not as charity, but as a chance to honor her journey and inspire others. As months passed, their bond grew stronger. What started as mutual respect evolved into something deeper. Though neither dared to name it aloud, Alexander admired Emma's authenticity, her ability to connect with people without pretense or ulterior motives. In turn, Emma found herself drawn to his newfound vulnerability. The cracks in his armor, revealing a man far more complex than the billionaire CEO the world knew. Still, doubts lingered in both their minds. Could two people from such different worlds truly find common ground? Was it possible to bridge the gap between privilege and struggle, ambition and humility? Tension reached its peak during the Heart Foundation's annual gala, held ironically enough at the Grand Avalon. Emma attended reluctantly, feeling out of place among the glittering crowd. As Alexander delivered his speech, his words echoed through the ballroom, catching everyone off guard, including Emma. Speaking candidly about the woman who had changed his perspective on life, he painted a portrait of strength, dignity, and grace. Though he never mentioned her name, Emma knew he was talking about her. The room fell silent, the air thick with emotion. Later, as they stood together on the balcony overlooking the city lights, Alexander confessed his feelings, his voice trembling with uncertainty. "I've fallen in love with you," he admitted, exposing his heart in a way he never had before. For Emma, the moment was overwhelming. Here was a man who had once judged her harshly, yet had since proven himself willing to change, to grow. Could she forgive him fully? Could she trust that their love could transcend the barriers between them? As the city sparkled below, Emma took a deep breath, knowing that whatever choice she made would alter the course of her life forever. Emma stood there on the balcony, her hand still wrapped around Alexander's, the city lights twinkling below, like tiny promises. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The weight of his confession hung in the air between them. Raw and unfiltered, Emma had always prided herself on seeing people for who they truly were, beyond their titles or wealth. But now she found herself looking at Alexander differently. He wasn't just the billionaire CEO anymore. He was someone willing to lay bare his vulnerabilities, to admit that love could be terrifying and real all at once. Finally, she took a deep breath and met his gaze. "You didn't ruin me that night," she said softly, her voice steady, despite the tears shimmering in her eyes. "You reminded me why I want to heal people. Not because it's noble, but because everyone deserves kindness, even when they don't show it." Alexander's shoulders relaxed slightly, as if her words had lifted some invisible burden from him. She continued, "And maybe we can build something together, something meaningful." The months that followed were transformative for both of them. Emma accepted the scholarship funded by the Heart Foundation, not out of obligation, but because she saw it as an opportunity to honor her journey while helping others like her. With Alexander's support, she expanded the program to include mentorship, initiatives for underprivileged students pursuing careers in medicine. It became more than just financial aid. It was a lifeline, a reminder that no dream was too big if you had someone believing in you. Alexander, meanwhile, underwent his own evolution. Inspired by Emma's compassion and humility, he began shifting his business empire toward projects that prioritize social impact over profit margins. He sold off stakes in companies whose values clashed with his newfound perspective and poured resources into building clinics, schools, and housing for marginalized communities. At first, critics dismissed his efforts as a PR stunt, but as years passed, the sincerity of his actions became undeniable. His board members often joked that Emma had softened him, but Alexander knew better. It wasn't softness, it was clarity. Their relationship blossomed quietly, away from the spotlight. They learned to navigate the complexities of their lives together, blending Emma's grounded simplicity with Alexander's strategic brilliance. There were challenges, of course. Moments when their worlds collided in ways that tested their patience and understanding, but they faced each hurdle, side by side. Aunt Lily, ever the wise observer, would often tease them about how different they seemed. yet how perfectly they fit. Opposites attract, she'd say with a wink, but only if they're willing to meet halfway. One evening, several years later, Emma stood beside Alexander at the opening of a new children's hospital, a project born from their shared vision. As Alexander delivered his speech, his words resonated deeply with the crowd. "When I was younger," he began, his voice warm and reflective, "I believed success was measured by what you accumulated. But life has taught me otherwise. True success lies in what you give back, in the lives you touch, and the legacy you leave behind." He paused, glancing briefly at Emma, who smiled encouragingly from the wings. "This hospital is dedicated to those who remind us daily of the power of resilience, hope, and love. And most importantly, it's dedicated to the woman who changed my life forever." The applause that followed was thunderous, but Emma barely heard it. Her focus was entirely on Alexander, who stepped down from the podium and walked toward her. Taking her hands in his, he whispered, "Thank you for everything." She laughed softly, shaking her head. "We did this together," she replied. "It's not just mine or yours, it's ours." As the celebration unfolded around them, Emma found herself reflecting on how far they'd come. From that fateful night in the presidential suite to this moment, standing amidst a community they'd helped uplift. Their journey felt like a testament to the beauty of second chances. Love hadn't erased their differences. It had embraced them, weaving two vastly different lives into one cohesive tapestry. Years later, when asked about their story, Emma would simply smile and say, "Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness lead to the greatest transformations." And Alexander, he'd nod in agreement, adding, "And sometimes the person you least expect becomes your greatest gift." The tale of Emma and Alexander serves as a reminder that worth isn't defined by wealth or status, but by the courage to grow, the willingness to forgive, and the ability to see the humanity in others. Their love transcended boundaries, proving that when hearts are open, even the most unlikely connections can blossom into something extraordinary. As the lights dimmed on another chapter of their lives, one thing remained certain: their story wasn't just about them. It was about the ripple effect of compassion, resilience, and the enduring belief that everyone deserves a chance to shine.